morning from Chicago, Suzette. Good
Oh,
morning.
honey, good morning from Raleigh, North Kakalaki.
North
No,
Cackalack.
you know how we do. You know. All
Yes.
right, girl, we live. We are live on this beautiful July 21st day. We are live. Isn't it
Yes.
wonderful?
It is wonderful. It feels as though we just planned this, but we've been planning this for a while. Like, and it's finally
Yeah.
here.
It's been a minute.
It has.
Been a minute.
It
Well,
has.
okay, Joy, you know how I like to start stuff up, right?
Uh-oh. Come on. Let me see. Let me
But
see what you
but now,
got.
first thing we got to do is we got to share. We got to share this out.
Okay.
So let's first share it. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share it to a
Where's
page.
my phone?
Let's see
Let me
here. I'm gonna
share.
share it right here. I'm gonna share it so the peoples can know we are here. We are here. We are here. We are here. I'll post it right there. And oh, yes, indeed. I saw it pop up. I saw it pop up.
You saw it pop up?
I saw it pop up. Now, do I have www.joysunshine.com? That is correct, right?
It is.
Yay, yay, fantastic. Okay, okay. I see people starting to come on in. They coming on
Good
in the room.
morning. Good morning. Good morning.
That's Joy's song. Joy, you know how we do it. You got to do my thing with me, right? Ah, come on, come on, come on. Hello,
Good
hello.
morning. Good morning, love.
Oh, I love
I'm not
that.
playing with you this morning. Let's get to the juice. Come on, Suzette. Come on.
All right. Well, I was not going to sing my whole song that you are enough. I just want you to know you are enough. If nobody has told you you're enough, let me be the first to tell you it doesn't matter what you've gone through, it doesn't matter what you're confronting, it doesn't matter. You are enough. You are everything that you need to survive and thrive in this world. So that's going to be in the place of the You Are Enough song. But I am tickled,
Yeah.
tickle, 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 to have brought the sunshine this morning in the personage of Joy Worthy Johnson, the
Oh,
owner
don't make me
of
blush.
Sunshine, and also a proud sponsor of our You Ask Good Men Answered virtual summit coming up August 6th, y'all. We are just a hair over 2 weeks away. So
Oh
if
my
you haven't
goodness.
registered, I don't know what you're waiting for. You know you're coming. You know you want to hear what these good men have to say about relationships so you can be healthy. So, hey, but without further ado, I wanted to just introduce Joy. Hello, Joy.
Hey, girl. I'm trying
Oh,
to share it on my phone, but I can't find it yet.
oh
Hopefully.
my goodness. Well, you know what? I'm already seeing comments. Jenny Adams. Hello, Jenny. And those of you who are on live, don't be shy. Let us know who you are. Show Joy some love. Share our Facebook Live because you know if we're talking about relationships, it's going to be juicy. Okay?
Juicy.
And Jenny,
Juicy.
and Jenny just said she got her book. So, Jenny, I need you to take a picture with the book so I can shout you out and show you some love. Last week, Jenny won my book, Protecting Your Emotional G Spot. And she said she just got her book. Yay, 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 yay.
Now,
So
wait, did you write that book, Suzette?
I wrote that book.
You've been holding out, Suzette. You have
Well,
been holding out. You did
Jen-
not tell me nothing about you wrote a book about a G spot, Suzette. You have been holding out, talking about all this sunshine. Girl, we should have been talking about them G spots. Okay.
that's going to be our next one. Is the G Spot real?
Ooh, you've been holding out.
I see Carol Gash on the live. Great to see you, Carol. Those of you that are jumping on, make sure you share it out. Show Joy some love as we talk about relationships, fantasy versus reality. But first, I want you to know that Joy is a renowned speaker. As a matter of fact, she's going to keynote today. That's why we had to start early, because she's got to be about her business. She's blowing up. I'm telling you, her Joy Sunshine business is blowing up. There have been those of you that have listened to this Facebook Live and have used her services, and you have been absolutely delighted. So just know she's a quality woman, and she is someone I admire. She knows very much about relationships. I mean, she threw something on us a couple of, what was a month or so ago. We were talking about relationships and about what it took for her relationship to thrive. So we got some good stuff to share. So Joy, first of all, tell us what made you decide to become a sponsor of You Ask Good Men Answered Virtual Summit.
Listen, the title alone, You Ask Good Men Answered. It resonated with me that you were creating a platform for women to get their questions answered by real good men. Because a lot of times I feel women, we talk to each other. So what do you think I should do, girl? What do you think he think, girl? Why he do me like that, girl? But when you ask a man and he tell you why he do what he do, why they act the way they act, you get a whole nother response. And so I wanted to be a part of something that was really helping our women find that happy place when it comes to love.
Yes, and it was so needed, because one thing that I know from having been married twice, then single, and then getting married, they say the third's a charm, right? And I really believe that's true in my case. And getting married in my 50s, you know, I got married at age 55, and there was a lot of living in between that. So I really believe what we can bring today when we're talking about fantasy versus reality is you can talk about what it's been like to stick and stay, and going from the fantasy of what you thought the relationship was going to be to the realities that you had to deal with, right?
Yes.
I can go from the side of it of, oh gosh, having gone through some bad relationships and hoping, wishing, dreaming, and praying for that Prince Charming, that perfect guy that's going to make good on what the previous guy did wrong. And then actually getting in the relationship and seeing what it's like when you're older and having to try to build and relate with somebody. So Joy, I want you to start us out. Talk to us about what your fantasy was before you got married and what the reality has been since being married.
Okay, so first things first, I've been married 9 years. And before I got married, I was a single mom of one daughter. And my fantasy was that God was going to send me a man, and he was going to rescue me from all my pains, from all my hurts. He was going to come and help pay all my bills. He was going to sex me up almost every night. He was going to love and dine me. We were going to take wild, exotic trips every anniversary. We were going to have this lavish wedding, and I was going to have about 20 of my friends as bridesmaids. And that was furthest from the truth. One of my biggest fantasies was I was going to get married and my husband was going to save me. And I did not consider, had I done the work to already be saved, had I done the work on myself first, I literally, in my mind, in my fantasy, I was going to come as a whole woman to this whole man. But the reality was I came to my husband in pieces. Yes. And I presented myself to him, but I wanted him to treat me as if I was whole. So that was one of my fantasies. And it has taken years, 9 years, for me to take all of those pieces of me, all of those past experiences, all those past relationships, past self-beliefs, to now become the woman, the wife, and the full mother that I am now, it has taken years to get to this place.
Wow.
But that was my fantasy.
Wow. 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 It's interesting because my fantasy, even after having tried twice, was still the same. I had gone through the realities of what marriage, the reality of marriage versus the fantasy. But because the reality wasn't what I dreamed or thought, I thought about, well, okay, I didn't get it right these 2 times, but he's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
That Prince Charming, that guy that's going to be the answer to my loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But you know
going
what?
to
No,
validate me. Go ahead. It's going to
no,
validate.
I was just gonna say, I don't want to. I tried to. I tried to run away from the reality several times. When
Mm,
I realized that this thing called marriage was not the fantasy world that I had thought about and dreamed about as a little girl when I played house and dressed up, and I got into this thing for real, I
mhm.
tried to leave 3 times.
Wow.
But the reality was, my husband and I said divorce is not an option. Now, you can go and
Mm,
be mad, you can go and be sad, but divorce is not an option. That was, and that has now become our reality. But initially, I don't ever want to say, girl, and I love my husband so much and I never wanted to leave him, girl. And I wanted to leave three
mm,
times. And I wanted to leave the first year of marriage because, especially in church, you praying for a man and you asking for a man, and you going to the single conferences and you're going to the women conferences, but they don't tell you, but once you get a man,
woo.
it's a whole nother ball game.
It's a whole nother.
It's a whole nother expectation. There's a whole nother level of confidence. There's a whole another level of sustainability. There's a whole nother level that comes with this.
Mm,
And I feel like they don't talk to you about
don't.
the man that's coming, his baggage, his issues, his past experiences, his past hurt, but you're dealing with yours, right? And all, but
Mhm.
then you got to come with a man. You don't know if he's a mama's boy. You don't know if um, it's just so much that could come with him that you were not prepared for in your fantasy. Because I mean, let's
Yeah.
think about it. When we fantasize about being with a man, that we say, and he might not love his mama, and he might have bad credit, and he might not can keep a job. You don't think about any of that.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. And even if we do see little flags of it, we rationalize it away.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because we want it to be the fantasy
Yeah.
that we thought of. But I will tell you, as a single mom for 7 years or 6 years, someone did tell me that, Joy, God is going to send you a man that's going to be more than you could have ever imagined. So,
Mm,
I thought about things like a man that's going to be romantic and he's going to take me places and he's going to do nice things for me. That was like my fantasy.
mhm.
But when someone said, I'm going to get a husband that's going to be way more, my husband loved my daughter as his own.
Wow.
My husband accepted my daughter as his own. Now that we have 4 children, my husband gives baths. My husband makes dinner. My husband picks up kids from school. My husband goes to the PTA. Like, those are things that were not even in my fantasy. That has
Mhm.
been a blessing in my reality.
Yeah, there was something that you said at a previous Facebook Live that it took you several years in order to help your husband understand you emotionally. So, would you say that it was so much that he had a block, or that you didn't feel confident being vulnerable enough to show him who you were emotionally? Because you know how we high achieving women are.
Yes. I think that it was more So of me not really wanting to be too vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And then we operating on two separate love languages. And so what I mean by that, my love language is words of affirmation. My
Mm-hmm.
husband's love language is physical touch. So a lot of times I was operating in my affirmation. I love you so much. You are such a great husband. You are such a phenomenal father. You are, you are, you are, you are. And it was landing nowhere because that did not resonate with him. What
Wow.
resonated with him was, come here, sweetheart, let me rub your feet. Come here, sweetheart, let me rub your head. Come here, sweetheart, let me rub your back. And so when I began to speak his love language, he started to hear my emotion. Does that make sense?
Oh, y'all, those of you listening, if that makes sense, say yes, yes. Joy, yes, yes, because it makes perfect sense to me.
Yes. So
Oh,
once I started speaking his love language, he started to hear my emotion because as I was rubbing his head or rubbing his feet or rubbing his back, and I would tell him about my day or tell him things, how things were going, he was receiving it. But for years, I was missing that block. And so for anyone that's like, what is a love language? I do want to just take a step back to say, so there are 5 love languages.
yes,
And if you haven't read the book or Google it, YouTube it, you need to, especially in a relationship. So
yes.
there's the gift of physical touch or
Mm-hmm.
the love language of words of affirmation, the love language of acts of service, the
Mm-hmm.
love language of
Quality
quality
time.
time, and the
Yeah.
love language of giving gifts.
Yes.
And so you need to identify what your love language is so that you can quickly make your fantasy a reality because then you can communicate to your spouse or your partner what you need to fulfill you. And
Mm-hmm.
then you also need to know their love language so you can immediately begin to be the answer to their fantasy as well.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point because a lot of us love the way we love because that's the way we want it. You know, that's our way of giving love. We because we love hearing words of affirmation or whatever, then that's the way we love somebody else. But you brought up
Correct.
a very clear point. A reality, y'all listening, is you have to find out what that person's currency is,
That's
what's
right.
meaningful to that person, and figure out from the get-go, is this something that I can actually do? You know, is this something that I can actually be? Is it something that I want to do, want to be? Do I value this relationship, value what we're building enough to do this? Those are some real questions because I think sometimes realities too is we date fantasy, but we live real.
Mm-hmm.
If we haven't brought the realness to the dating, then this person and you get married, and after all the euphoria wear out off, you're wondering, wait a minute, you were so romantic in the beginning. Now you don't bring me flowers at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I think what you're bringing out is really causing us to really think about how we date, how we relate, how we get to know the other person. Because, like
Correct.
you said, and I totally co-sign, that other person cannot complete you. You
No.
have to do your own work on yourself.
Mm-hmm. You do. And then also be prepared with the reality of when you have done all the work on yourself, once you meet your husband, he may not have scratched the surface of
Mm-hmm.
doing the work on himself. And are
Mm-hmm.
you ready for the reality of building him up and helping him? And that is something you find out during the dating stages. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I personally feel as though when you're dating and he's courting you and you see the red flags, and if you can't build and begin to repair during the dating stage, don't think that once you put a ring on it, that's when the mending and the repairing and the building will begin. No,
Mm.
it's too late now.
Say
He
that.
During the courting and the dating stage is when you say, okay, so you don't know how to save money? Okay, let's learn how to save some money, because once we become married, we become one, and your credit becomes my credit, and your checking account is my checking account. So let's talk about your saving capabilities now. Oh, okay. So you can't keep a job while we're dating. You don't know discipline and responsibility while we're dating, and there's no kids involved. Okay, now let's keep a job for the next 6 months, a year. Let's see if you can maintain it, because once we get married and I start having kids or life happens, I need to depend that you can keep a job, that you understand discipline, that don't wait until you get married and say, okay, now he's about to do it for real.
Oh God,
We show each other who we are in that dating, arena.
I'm so serious. I had a similar conversation with a family member. I remember way back in the day when he was getting ready to marry a young lady. And we were talking about the reasons he was marrying her. He said, she's always held me down. Whenever I've needed her, she's been there for me. So I want to make her my wife. I said, baby doll, let me tell you something from a woman's point of view.
That's right.
She held you down while y'all were dating. But
That's
when
right.
you get married to her and you promise certain things, she's going to expect you to hold it down for her.
That's right. That's
and
right.
He did not get it because he was young. But just as sure as the road goes by the church, it happened.
It did.
And so I think as we're having these grown up conversations, ladies and gents that are listening, we got to change the way we do this thing. We got to show up real. And just because a person is not all shiny, spit shine and everything going, does not mean that you throw them back. It just means you have to face the reality that there's some work you both have to do together. And is that person willing to do the work? Are they open to it?
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I want to share another story, but before I share a story, Suzette, I really want to make sure that you share, like, how did you have divorce happen 2 times?
Ooh, cha. I'm gonna give y'all the Cliff Note version, because otherwise we'd have to get us a fifth or something and sit down. And you plan to stay the night because we're gonna be really drunk after it.
But because I feel like too often women who have experienced divorce but remarried, sometimes I feel like they skip over, I've been divorced twice, but now I found it. Now, but what happened the other 2 times? Like, what happened?
Well, first of all, the evolved answer is neither one of us were ready. We weren't. Neither one of us knew enough about ourselves, about life, about whatever, to really make that kind of commitment to each other. Because if we had known, even Stevie Wonder would have seen it won't gonna last.
Wow. And so how old were you for, at your first marriage?
Well, actually, I was 29. So you would have thought I had lived a spell, right? But I had grown up in a very sheltered environment with a very rigid theology. And my whole culture was church. That's all that was. So I did not really know what to look for in a partner. I didn't even know how to interpret walking in agreement, being in agreement, being equally yoked. I didn't know how to interpret that. All I thought was, you love God, I love God. You saved, I'm saved. And whatever comes up in life, we'll just pray through.
Yeah.
But that did not reveal character, because everybody that can beat a tambourine and carry a big Bible,
come on,
and know how to quicken to the right and left and get a couple of scriptures, does not have character. Right. And then there's some people that might have certain character that they've matured in, but they don't know how to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
They don't.
I'm so happy you said that.
A woman with the opposite sex, they don't really know how to be.
And so often people always say, find you a good church man. Ooh, find you a good church man. Let me tell you something. I have had some of the most inappropriate conversations with preachers, a good church man, than I have had with a man who was on the fence of religion. And it hurts my heart that all you knew was church, but yet all of that still didn't save
Yeah.
your marriage.
You didn't know. It's like you know church, but you don't know God.
Okay, tell us about the second one.
The second one was to the same person. That's why I said we need a fifth. It was to the same person.
Wow, y'all tried it again.
We tried it again. And honestly, you know, I could say it was because he said this, he said that. But the truth was, I was so happy to get out of it the first time unscathed that I spent so much time trying to rebuild and tread water for our son and I. I was nice to men and all that, but I still did not entertain dating anybody else, learning from the first time, getting clear about what went wrong, what my contribution was, what I needed that I didn't ask for. I still didn't grow up emotionally, even though we divorced. So because he knew me very well and there was nobody else that you know could challenge that, he knew exactly what to say, how to say it, and wormed his way back in invariably as he would, because he was still coming to, you know, taking care of our son, taking him out, doing the son father thing. And when I was going through a difficult time, guess what? He was there. He listened. He understood. And that conversation led to bonding again. And next thing I knew, he was down on one knee again, asking me to marry him again, saying the right thing. And the right thing was, I told God that if I ever got another chance with you, I'd get it right this time.
Wow.
And oh, he was speaking my language. And
yes.
he may
Yes.
have meant it. Our living forward, I questioned whether he really meant it because of the way things went. But I felt like I owed it to my son for his parents to reunite if there was a chance. And it was really a slower walk, but still a slow walk right back down to the very things
Oh,
that broke us
Suzette.
up the first time.
Suzette, we do not have enough time to
I know. We
because
got
I
to do
just
a part two. We got to do a part.
listen, because here's the thing that you said, um, is that like essentially you did it the second time for the sake of your son, for the sake of, and so often people do stay in marriages or create this fantasy for the sake of their children. But in the inside, they're rotting and they
Oh,
are deteriorating
that
because
word. Yes, rotting. I was rotting.
rotting.
Oh, did that hit y'all like it hit me? That word.
You are
I've
rotting.
never heard anybody describe it in the way that was really happening. I was rotting
You
inside.
was. But the fantasy was, I want to have a two-parent household. I want my son to have his mother and his father. I want to create this loving image that I want, for the world to see, for society to see. But the reality was, it wasn't good for you. And so, Suzette, what can you speak to, and what can you say? I'm sorry, I'm turning this into an interview on you,
Girl, that's all right. I love it because we
but,
interviewed each other.
but what can you say to the woman who is in that situation right now, where her fantasy is clouding the judgment of her reality?
Oh,
Reality, she knows. What would you say to that woman?
I would say to her that how she feels matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, when we broke up, one of the things that somebody said to me is, have you done everything that you could to save it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a question we a lot of times get asked at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But just what you said, we have gone through years and years and years of our fantasy.
Yeah.
Trying to hold on to the fantasy. even in the chokehold of the reality.
Mm.
We have gone from years and years to losing a piece of our souls. For every second we stayed in it, for every minute, for every hour, for every day, for every month, for every year, we were losing a piece of ourselves. We were rotting on the vine. Rotting on the vine. And because our fantasy was so strong, we were trying to hold on to the fantasy. And so that's what but our feelings never betrayed us. Our feelings always objected. We just didn't respect it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would say to a person, your feelings matter.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to listen and trust that intuition.
Yes.
But I also, I don't want to say, you still have to put in the work, right?
Yes.
So another fantasy that I had was sex will fix everything. Just have sex. Just have sex. Just have sex. That will fix everything. But the reality is, we're going to have to talk about what made me upset in the first place, what made you upset in the first place, what hurt my feelings, what hurt your feelings, what were you expecting, what was I expecting. The reality is, you're going to have to talk and have hard conversations, and you're going to have to communicate. But the fantasy is all will be forgiven. All will be well.
Let me tell you about the sex thing. And I don't know if this was the case for you or for our listeners or those that are going to listen to the replay. But I kind of had, not to the extent of sex would fix everything, but I did think, okay, well, we've tried to talk about it, whatever. And the Bible says, not to, make sure that you show each other that due benevolence and everything, and all that wiring came into place. But I'm gonna tell you what caused even more self-harm, because I think sometimes it's not just what the harm we endured at the hands of the other, but it's our own self-inflicted wound.
Mm-hmm.
And for many of us, I know there's some women that can have sex like a man and get in, get out, get over it. But for me, every time I'd have sex with somebody I felt like did not see me, did not hear me, and I did not matter to, I felt like I was taking his knife out of his hands and plunging it into my own heart.
Oh.
So it would be I would do my own self-punishment. And that's why what I think we brought out, and I also want to respect your time because I know you got the keynote, is we have to examine our fantasy. We have to really examine if it really fits anymore. If it really is it grounded in fantasy, or is it grounded in reality? And I'm hoping that what we have brought has not completely solved where everybody is, but it's at least started the conversation with ourselves, that we can look back at our dating history. We can do a CSI investigation. We can find out where the bones are buried,
mm-hmm.
and, go into that dig and be able to say, what fantasy am I bringing into my now?
Yeah.
That no longer fits. And then what is my responsibility to bring the reality of who I am and what I need into my dating and into my relating before I commit to this person? That's
good.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's good, Suzette.
And what's your takeaway from knowing that you, if I'm understanding correctly, you and your husband had to both be willing participants in this commitment called marriage?
Yes.
Right? So what you can give those that might be in marriages where things might not be rosy right now, and they're contemplating whether they should step out on their spouse. They're contemplating whether this thing is going to work. They're contemplating because the kids are gone now and it's just me and him, and we're just wondering what should we stick and stay, or what? What would you say to them?
Oh, what would I say? I would say at the core of your being, do you love that person and can you see yourself with them for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. Do you love that person and can you see yourself with them for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. If you found out tomorrow that they abruptly died, would you say, good? Or would you say,
oh God,
no?
Yeah.
If you honestly would be affected, if you honestly would be hurt or bothered, then you need to fight with everything in you to preserve that marriage. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not fun, but it is so worth it. It is so worth having a life partner to go through this thing called life together. It is so worth having someone to share your most intimate, insecure, vulnerable thoughts with, and for them to love you in the midst. And again, we don't even have the bandwidth right now to discuss, well, what if he doesn't love me? What if he don't? But luckily, Suzette is hosting a summit where men are going to talk about possibly, what can a woman do when a man is like, I don't know anymore. Hopefully a man can tell you what else what are some other options.
Yes.
But
yes.
That would just be my takeaway, Suzette.
And Joy said something very, very true. The conversations that I'm having with these men, 13 men, no, actually 14, 14 men, we talk about everything. We talk about it from a man's point of view. The relationship experts talk about what they went through and how they're helping men and women. And the regular men are talking about their journey and what it took for them to deal with their pain and the pivotal role that women played in it. So if you haven't registered for the summit, you would want to, because one thing I've learned, the more I found out about men, the more I understand not just who I am, but just how powerful and how necessary I am to relationships. So I know Joy's got to run, and
I do.
Not too long, but I hope you all have been blessed by this. If you haven't registered, make sure you register. If you haven't checked out Joy, go to www.joisunshine.com. We're going to have to bring her back to let her tell you about her business. But we send love and light to Joy. We know she is going to impact lives and transform the women that she's talking to as she keynotes today. I heard a little bit of it, and I wish I was going to be there, Joy, because you are so powerful in everything that you do. You bring illumination. You give a voice to things. And you show people that they can make it. There is, and I believe in you, in everything that you do and you say. And that's why I'm not surprised that your marriage is thriving. Even with children, with as many kids as you have, that you and your husband are able to preserve that relationship and that union. So thanks again, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzette. Thank you so much. I wish I could stay longer. But be blessed. I send light and love to your summit and for everyone that's attending, to all of your speakers, and to you, my love. Keep being amazing on purpose.
All right. Well, you all know how I like to leave things, right? You don't need everybody, just the right somebody. Later, y'all.